Yo, what's up? So I got the Baltimore Ravens depth chart here. I'll just go through their whole roster, just like position by position, kind of just give my thoughts on the overall team as a whole, and yeah, just give my thoughts on the roster. So start off with the receiver group like we usually do. They got Sammy Watkins, who they brought in free agency. He'll probably be their primarily number two receiver on the outside. Could definitely be more of a number one receiver for them because you kind of just got to see what Marquise Brown can do. But I think Sammy Watkins, he's a very reliable target, kind of gives you a big body receiver who does have some pretty good speed. It's been a very reliable player. I think he could be good for the Ravens also. So I did like that pickup. I thought they needed to get another veteran receiver, and I thought Sammy Watkins was pretty good. And Marquise Brown, yeah, we'll see if he can take hopefully a bit of a step up because a bit of a down year to be honest. Like he has flashes, just not amazing getting open in man coverage. Like he's very bad against man coverage. Zone coverage, he's much better against just because of his speed and he's a pretty decent route runner. So he will give that element to your offense. Of course, Lamar Jackson's got a big arm. So if you have Sammy Watkins just like patrolling the middle of the field, just get Marquise Brown to run deep, you could definitely have something there. For the third receiver, I mean Marcus Brown I think could probably play in the slot for them. And I think Rashad Bateman could also, but I think he'll probably play on the outside because that's kind of what he played at Minnesota, and he was very good at Minnesota. I really like Rashad Bateman. I really wanted him to go to the Saints. Of course, the Ravens had to draft him pick before, but I think he'll be amazing. I think he could be really good in his first year. I think he could be more productive than Sammy Watkins and Marcus Brown and be an actual number one target on the outside. I think he can be great and definitely for the future also. I think he can develop even better. I thought he has a ton of potential, just a really good route runner coming out, plays physical, can jump up and get the ball. Like, very good. Miles Boykin also as a fourth receiver is very solid. Like, even fourth or fifth, I think him and Tylan Wallace will probably battle out for that position. I like Tylan Wallace coming out of college. I thought he was a very good draft pick. I thought it was just too good to pass up on. So I did like them picking up Tylan Wallace. I think he could get some decent playing time because he's just a really good route runner. And I mean, but Miles Boykin kind of being that more of a jump ball receiver, probably coming more in the red zone to maybe take Tylan Wallace out in that. So they got a lot of stuff they can work with. Even like James Prochet and Devin Duvernay. Like Devin Duvernay, they drafted in like the second round. We'll see if they get him more involved, but they kind of got players I'd rather play over Devin Duvernay. Maybe just keep him as a returner, which is kind of unfortunate. But I wasn't a massive fan of him coming out of college anyway. I just thought Tylan Wallace and Rashad Bateman were probably better receivers. And James Prochet, well, kind of more of a deep threat and they don't really got much else. But the receiver group's looking very good now. Like last year and the years before wasn't looking that amazing, but now no excuses. I think they got a bunch of ball players. Let's go into offensive line. So they got Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, one of the best left tackles in the league. He's very good, so you feel pretty comfortable with that. So that's fine. Terry Phillips, Foster Sarah, backups. I'm not gonna offer much. The interior is where stuff can probably switch around. Like Bradley Bozeman at left guard, he wasn't really that good at that last year. So we'll see if he possibly starts there. I think there's a definite possibility. I would probably start Ben Cleveland. I mean, I just think Ben Cleveland's really like ready to start straight away. I think he can be an amazing player, especially for the Ravens scheme, kind of being that power run blocker. He's very good at that. Very massive dude who will just push you off the run game. Not as good as a pass rusher, but if they're going to run the ball a lot, I think Ben Cleveland's much better than Bradley Bozeman. Bradley Bozeman probably a better pass protector, but Ben Cleveland's not bad, and he still young can develop into that. So I think you start Ben Cleveland could week one. That's what I would do. Maybe see what he does in preseason and then start him because I think he's very good. I mean, right tackle they brought in Alejandro Villanueva. That was a pretty decent pickup. He's not a good run blocker to be honest, but it's not that big of a deal. Like they got a bunch of good run blockers, and he's still decent. Like he's not horrible, but they could probably brought him in for more of that pass protection because he's very good at that. So I thought that was a good pick, and they kind of needed to replace was a player they traded away to the Chiefs, Orlando Brown. Yeah, and I think Villanueva. That's fine for maybe 1 or 2 years. John James even as a backup, he's going to be injured. I thought, I mean, he was a good tackle until he got injured, so maybe replacement for Villanueva if he comes back healthy. Andre Smith's a fine backup. Right guard going to be Kevin Zeitler. He's still a good guard. Like had a bit of a down year last year for New York, but I thought that was another good pickup, and I think their offensive line's looking very good now. Center position not looking as good. They got Patrick McCarry listed here. He's just not good. I think Ben Powers could definitely start at center. They don't got much, but I mean center's not your most valuable position. But probably going to be Ben Powers or Patrick McCarry. One of those two. That's probably who's going to battle out for it. So we'll see with that. And tight end, Mark Andrews, very good tight end. One of the best in the league, probably. Definitely top 10. He's good, so he's a good receiving threat. Pretty underrated now, actually. So you like that with Mark Andrews. I think he's a good tight end. Nick Boyle even kind of being more of that run blocker. He's very good in that game. Good at blocking. That's kind of all he really does. We'll pass the ball. We'll catch the ball sometimes, but he'll primarily just be using that role. They did bring in Josh Oliver, who has some upside to be honest, because he was drafted very early in the draft. Just hasn't really gotten a massive amount of chance in Jacksonville, and just hasn't really shown a lot. So I think maybe it could be like kind of a Darren Waller type story. I doubt it. But he's still a good athlete. Like he could maybe be their third tight end next year and get some decent snaps, kind of being that second option in the receiving game. They do have Eric Tomlinson. We'll see. It'll be these dudes probably battling out for it. So we'll see who wins that third tight end. Maybe one of these dudes gets cut before the year. We'll have to see. Eric Tomlinson's a decent like backup tight end, so I won't be surprised that they do have the only really other dude like you can really talk about is Tony Poljan, who was undrafted from Virginia Tech, I believe, or Virginia, or just Virginia. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty decent tight end pickup. Good athlete, not an amazing run blocker, but I think you could take a shot on him, kind of get you another receiving weapon. Maybe he makes the roster. We'll have to see. And now quarterback position. Lamar Jackson, yes, was MVP 2 years ago. Still very good quarterback, amazing runner, just escapes pressure and stuff. And I mean, I don't think he'll have to do that as much this year. I think that their offensive line is much better. But you do have that threat with him. They can use him in the run game. He's a bit inaccurate to be honest, but he can definitely work on it. He's got a good deep ball arm. He will miss some easy throws, but he's still a really good quarterback, and I think he could have a good season next year, like better than last year, I think. They do have Trace McSorley to back him up, who, I mean, to be honest, was pretty decent when he played against the Steelers that one game. So, I mean, I don't mind that as a backup, and especially Lamar Jackson, you probably need a backup that can maybe come and just run your offense. I think Trace McSorley can do that. And then they kind of have another Lamar Jackson type player as their third quarterback in Tyler Huntley, who I think they got undrafted last year, who basically just did what Lamar Jackson did in their offense. They just ran him with the ball when Lamar Jackson wasn't playing, like in blowouts or injury. I mean, he wasn't horrible, to be honest, so you got yourself a third quarterback. And the running back position, when this loads up, they got some players. J.K. Dobbins, rookie from last year, showed some really promising play near the end of the year. I think he probably solidified himself as that number one running back going into next year. Because going into the season, he was kind of backed up by like Mark Ingram and players they had there. It's kind of the third running back, but definitely next year I think he'll be the number one running back. I mean, for a fantasy player, you can maybe pick up just some tips. I'd maybe pick up J.K. Dobbins. He's going to get a pretty heavy load. I could see Gus Edwards also getting some decent playing time. I think they could possibly split snaps. Maybe J.K. Dobbins getting a bit more of them, but Gus Edwards, he shows some pretty good play, kind of being more of a power back. But he's got some pretty good explosiveness, so I thought that's a good backup running back. Like this 1-2 punch is going to be pretty good. And even Justin Hill is kind of more a receiving threat, special teamer. That's kind of what he does. I think that's fine. That's his game. Really just pass the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's fine in that. No one really else to talk about. Fullback's actually pretty interesting. They got Patrick Ricard, who plays some defensive tackle. I could see him play. He's probably going to play that just primarily next year. To be honest, they brought in Ben Mason, who is the best fullback prospect in the draft. Not saying much, but he's a really good fullback, and I guess it's a pretty good scheme fit to be honest, because he just will blow you up in the run game. Maybe bringing both of these dudes down. That's pretty nasty. You got some two big dudes running at you, and you maybe have Ben Cleveland and stuff. I mean, offense looking pretty scary. Let's go on to defense though. Defensive line, we'll start off with Derek Wolf, kind of more of a rotational player for them now. But he's very good in that role. Will not be a starting defensive end, but we'll get some good playing time because he's pretty decent. He bats the ball down quite a lot, has some good play, so he's very solid. I think that's fine. And nose tackle Brandon Williams. He's very good. Good run stopper. That's kind of his game. Won't really offer you much pass rush wise, but run stopping, very good at that. Justin Ellis also is pretty good backup, kind of being another really big player. Like these two dudes are just massive. They will stop the run. And Calais Campbell, very good. Kind of gives you more of uh, the pass rush out of that defensive tackle, kind of more of a defensive end at the same time, but kind of is rotational, like especially for the 3-4, he's a really good scheme fit. He will play defense tackle and defensive end very like at a high level, can stop the run well and rush the passer, very good. So you like Calais Campbell there, he's still very solid. Justin Matabuke, I think they probably get him more involved this year. Just didn't get a bunch of chances last year, and they drafted him highly in the draft, so I could see him having a pretty decent year. Kind of offer more of the pass rush than like the other players they got, so maybe bring him in third down. Him, Calais Campbell, that's pretty solid. For their pass rush, they got Pernell McPhee kind of being that veteran player. I don't think he plays a ton next year, to be honest. He'll probably just come in. I think he could split snaps with Jalen Ferguson, to be honest, who's actually developed pretty well. Like when he's got like a chance to start, he's pretty good, to be honest. I think Jalen Ferguson could get some good playing time, like him and Pernell McPhee probably splitting the snaps, and then maybe get Dalen Hayes some snaps also, who's pretty good. Prospect coming out, to be honest, really good athlete, good scheme fit. Like he could be pretty sneaky if players go down. Also, you can put in Dalen Hayes. I don't think that's horrible. For the other pass rush, Tyus Bowser probably going to be that 3-4 pass rusher. Really, kind of more of a coverage player, to be honest, than a primarily pass rusher. That's kind of his job. He'll rush the passer, kind of be that outside linebacker, and he's very good at that. So I thought that was good to get him back because they lost some players off that defensive line, and they rotate in a ton of players. So everybody on that outside linebacker position is going to be getting quite a lot of snaps, and Jason Owe even. I think Tyus Bowser probably gets more of the snaps. Jason Owe, he could have a decent season. I don't think he'll rack up sacks, to be honest, just because he's a really raw prospect. But he'll be good in the run game because he'll just have that athleticism, and I think he could also be pretty good, like just dropping back in coverage also because he's got amazing speed, just really good athlete. You kind of just build off of that, especially with this Ravens coaching staff that's done a really good job at developing pass rushers. I think Jason Owe can turn into a good sack leader in the league. So I'll have to see with him. First year, I wouldn't expect too much from him. I wouldn't freak out if he doesn't have an amazing year. That definitely for the future, I think he could be very good. And now the inside linebackers, Patrick Queen, rookie last year, wasn't amazing, to be honest. He definitely showed flashes. It was very up and down. Like he missed a ton of tackles. Was a bit of a liability all around. But he's still a young player, and linebacker positions is really hard to play straight away. Just hard position to come in for a rookie, and they just get better year after year. So I could see Patrick Queen taking a step up this year, and just every year to come, just him getting better. Malik Harrison, he actually showed some pretty good play last year for when he came in when players got injured. So I could see him getting some playing time. I think LJ Fort could definitely start at linebacker. It's a shame they kind of lost some dudes at linebacker. I thought they could have maybe brought in a veteran to help out Patrick Queen. But they got some young players. It's going to be primarily these three and Patrick Queen, Malik Harris, and LJ Fort, and then just kind of more special teamers to back them up. And then cornerback position, they got Marcus Peters, very solid corner, still really good. Has some up and down years to be honest. We'll get caught on some double moves and plays, but overall, very good corner. You're happy with him. I mean, he's our number two corner, and that's pretty good. Like he'll probably be a number one corner on most teams. And then you got Marlon Humphrey on the other side. Has developed really well. He's just been a kind of an underrated receiver, to be honest. Been very good, very solid receiver. I think receiver, cornerback. I've been saying receiver this whole time. Oh, whatever. Marlon Humphrey still very good. Number one corner, locked down. So you're very happy with that. Their cornerback duo is very good. And then for the slot position, they could definitely have some battles like Jimmy Smith, more of an outside corner. I think he'll probably just be a backup for Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey if they go down, kind of being that veteran presence also. You can still play pretty well. Anthony Averett, probably not gonna compete to start in the slot, but be a good backup. The two players that will definitely compete will be Tavon Young and Shaun Wade. It's probably going to be Tavon Young, to be honest, starting in the slot. Although Shaun Wade was very good in the slot at Ohio State and was just atrocious on the outside, which kind of made his draft stock fall as much as it did. I'd probably have Tavon Young start, and maybe for the future, Shaun Wade takes over that role. Maybe you see some play from preseason and he impresses and you put him there. But probably going to be Tavon Young. So let's go into safety. They probably got their two players locked down. Chuck Clark's actually pretty underrated. He was a very good, strong safety last year. Big hitter, good run stopper, kind of plays in the box. And you got Deshaun Elliott, kind of a free safety. He does get beat sometimes, but he was still pretty decent. Like, I think Chuck Clark, Deshaun Elliott are a good safety duo. So I do like that. They did bring in some competition, though. Brandon Stevens in the draft. He was a very raw player. Like, it was a very surprising draft pick in, like, the third round or whatever it was. Like, that was a bit weird. He's a very good athlete. Like, he was a former running back. He'll definitely contribute in special teams straight away at a pretty high level. I definitely think that's possible. But Brandon Stevens, probably not going to get a ton of playing time just because he's a very raw player. It's going to be kind of hard for him to really get a ton of playing time. He'll definitely have to develop. He could develop into a good player. Like, we'll just have to see, though. Anthony Averett also, that's pretty decent backup. Like, they got some depth on the safety position. Like Anthony Levine, kind of that veteran, just really a special team, and that's all he really plays. But good veteran to maybe coach up somebody like Brandon Stevens as that special teams role in the first year. I think Darius Washington was a very good undrafted pickup. Like, I was very surprised that he did not get drafted. Like, he was good at TCU, kind of got blown under the bush with Trayvon Moehrig just coming out as that really good safety. I think Darius Washington definitely makes the roster and could maybe kick out somebody like Anthony Averett and like take over a second safety role. And I wouldn't even be surprised if in a couple of years, if Deshaun Elliott doesn't like progress and like show a bunch of development instead of just being a good solid safety, you can maybe see Darius Washington be that. The only reason he might not work out, I mean, his size and athleticism is amazing, but he's still a good player. Like, he shows very good play, and I thought that was very good for this Ravens secondary, who just is really deep now. Like, overall, their defense, they got a lot of depth. I think linebacker position definitely they can improve on, and maybe another interior player just to get more depth, like somebody to back up Derek Wolfe. Like, but overall, I mean, very solid roster, offense. Not really any holes beside probably center position and maybe guard if they don't play well. But I think overall, their roster, not a lot of holes. They're definitely going to make a playoff push next year. And I think Ravens definitely high expectation. If Lamar Jackson has a really good year and just comes out and is an amazing quarterback, I think definitely a Super Bowl contenders. We'll quickly go over the special teams. They got Sam Coach as a Kicker, punter, I mean, still very good. They brought, I thought it said Tommy. Isn't it Tommy Townsend from the Chiefs? Did they cut Tommy Townsend? I mean, he had a horrible Super Bowl performance. Is that him? If they just spell his name wrong, young player maybe learns after Sam coach. But Justin Tucker, kicker, best kicker in the league, been that for a while. So you're very happy with that. Kick returner, yeah, definitely probably going to be Devin Duvernay. And Justice Hill and James Say they could maybe win one of those spots because they have been pretty decent kick returners. But I think Devin Duvernay is kind of getting buried on the depth chart. I could see him just being a special teamer next year. But that's the Ravens roster, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.